Eve Babitz is like the perfect optimist. Better than food, man. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Clifford Lee Sargent. Great to see you as always. Hope you're doing well. Get that coffee. It's too late for coffee, but to hell with it. This is what I do on Friday nights now. Anybody else remember drugs? Dancing? Yeah, me neither. Today's episode is brought to you by this 18-karat gold-plated Ridge wallet. I'm not somebody who would wear gold or carry gold things usually, but I think this is pretty dope. These things are awesome. They are light, sleek, industrial. Holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash on the back. It's pretty awesome. They're made to fit in your front pocket, not in your back pocket, so you're gonna save your back. Your spine's not gonna get all whacked out or whatever. Doesn't fold or awkwardly bulge in your back pocket, and it has seriously changed up my whole pocket situation, freed up some much needed space. They're just a little bit bigger than your credit card, and yet they're so strong, sturdy, and awesome. It's like, why have we switched to smartphones, but we're still using the same kind of wallets? It also comes in this Swanky Box, very nice. As the company says, it's designed to streamline how you carry cards and cash. And it really does. Aside from gold, there's 30 colors and styles, including burnt titanium and carbon fiber. Normally I just carry the black titanium, but they were very kind to send me an upgrade. I will say it's not the most inconspicuous thing though, so have common sense when you're waving it around in public. You're literally never going to need another wallet again. It's the last one you'll need to buy. The durable material means that each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You could buy this one wallet and carry it for life. And I plan on keeping this one for the rest of my life. Also, it has RFID blocking technology that protects you from digital pickpockets. It's definitely a plus for me. I don't even know how that process works, so, any security is great. If this wasn't enough to win you over yet, check out that 30,000 five-star reviews. In fact, the Ridge team is so confident you'll love it that they'll let you test drive it for 45 days. You can send it back for a full refund if you don't love it. Makes a great gift, that's for sure. Valentine's Day is coming up, just saying. Get 10% off your order today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/betterthanfood and using the code betterthanfood. The link is below. Thanks so much. Today I'm very thrilled to tell you about I Used to Be Charming, the rest of Eve Babitz by Eve Babitz. This was sent to me by NYRB. They're very kind folks. I'm partially sponsored by them. They send me free books from time to time. And this was one that I've been wanting to read for a while. It's pretty lengthy. It's clocking in at, this version is 433. Man, wow, where do I even begin? It was just terrific. It was wonderful. It was everything I could hope for from her, I first reviewed Slow Days Fast Company several years back. It wasn't that good, don't watch it, but buy the book, please, because it's exceptional. Really quick, I'd just like to point out, I can't even imagine being smart enough to have an idea that would improve this cover. This, in my personal opinion, is unbeatably perfect. That is just about the best cover design I have ever seen, really. But I've been reading Eve Babitz for a while. I heard about her from, I think, Bret Easton Ellis posted something about reading Slow Days Fast Company, and I picked that up back when I was living in LA, which was, the perfect setting because it's all about Los Angeles. All of her essays are about Los Angeles. Well, no, I should say LA is a major theme in her writing. That's more accurate. Not all of her essays in this one are about Los Angeles at all. But yeah, I thought she was just awesome, and I read a lot of LA authors around that time, Nathaniel West and Didion and Ellis and all these people. Yeah, she really is able to capture that city like no other. She is like the perfect optimist. Everything is kind of shit right now, so if you're looking to feel good, I gotta say, Eve Babitz is like the perfect optimist who is able to throw in a little bit of sarcastic irony and humor for balancing, for good measure, for just kind of like getting a laugh from time to time. She's got a great sense of humor, but her sense of optimism is really what the world needs right now, in my opinion, because it's just a shit time all around, all over the world. And it's hard to remember sometimes just how beautiful things were and are and can be and will be. So if you really just kind of want to be transported back, just to remember how cool things have been in the past and that there have been terrible times in the past and we've gotten through it and we're going to get to great times in the future, I highly recommend you pick this up. It's almost a drug. It's terrific. She is proof that enthusiasm for just about anything is contagious. This is all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll in Hollywood, when it was actually cool and nobody was yet sober, mostly the 70s. Eve Babitz is a Los Angeles native whose father was an accomplished violinist and had some interesting connections. So, her family knew a lot of very, very interesting people. Stravinsky was her godfather. Her father worked with him. Apparently Arnold Schoenberg was a family friend or around the house. Bernard Herrmann. Herrmann is the guy who scored Hitchcock's films. Taxi Driver was his last one with Scorsese. Schoenberg and Herrmann, I mean, that's some of the best music you're ever going to hear in your life. Werklart Nacht by Schoenberg. I love that. Love that. That's kind of mind-boggling for a bumpkin like myself. But the whole Very Famous Friends Hollywood thing started early. Eve just continued moving through these fascinating circles her whole life, it seems. Had some relationships with some very, very famous men. She was a self-proclaimed groupie, but that's, you know, that's not doing it justice. There's a great interview that I've linked to below with this woman named Lili, Anolik, who wrote a biography of Eve. And she describes Eve's style as this mixture of high and low, as Marilyn Monroe and Igor Stravinsky. Absolutely true. So this is a collection of essays with a whole range of topics. I mean, everything from dancing to this kind of fashion empire to being very well endowed in the chest area and kind of like dealing with men and life. Her time with Jim Morrison from The Doors, you know? I mean, just like all kinds of humorous, insightful, brilliant, clever, witty, like crazy cool stuff, right? You know, things that just blow my mind continually, and it's great. It's just transporting you to this whole different universe, especially now being locked indoors in all of our, like, you know, isolated prisons, our individual prisons. Just imagining, you know, parties, people, sex, drugs, music, rock and roll, you know, life, right? Cities, culture, you know. It just makes you like fucking ache for, you know, just life. And yeah, it's really good. It's a really good reminder to remember that none of this is healthy. None of this is healthy right now. I'd actually love to hear what she thinks about this whole period right now. I mean, she's still with us. She's in her 70s, but you know, she's still doing her thing. The first comparison one might draw, which is discussed in the aforementioned interview, is of course Joan Didion. However, in the interview, they say she's like the anti-Didion. But I feel, of course, only in her sense of tone and style. It's way more optimistic if we're to call, you know, Didion a pessimist, which is pretty accurate, I think. Yeah, like Didion, like, really is like pulling back the veil on the seedy, disgusting, like terrible, violent LA, the really corrupt, hideous, evil city, you know, or California, you know. Whereas Eve is, it's like no matter how fucked up a place is, she's always just able to kind of see the beauty or the humor in the situation. Just kind of like, I mean, and that's pervasive throughout. That's a constant approach to life that she has. She prioritizes fun, which is kind of foreign to me. You know, I'm such a pessimist and sort of like probably a pretty mopey guy. But it's contagious. Her approach, her joie de vivre or whatever, you know, and that's so refreshing, because she's not trying to be like distant or cold, which Didion very much is employing those methods stylistically. But Babitz is like, it's casual and it's well written, as in she worked hard on it, right? But it comes off as effortless. And of course, it's supposed to be fun, you know, like of course it is, like of course, because everybody knows that. Everybody knows it's all about fun, right? That's what life is about. And I like that. She really doesn't take herself too seriously. I take myself too seriously, you know, so it's good for me to read authors like this. Like I learned from the interview, Didion, it turns out, knew Babitz and helped her get published. So there's that connection, maybe not surprising, and but you know, the world gets smaller and it's interesting. Really quick, if you're enjoying this review, a great free way to help the show would just be to leave a thumbs up. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. It helps the algorithm get this video to people who would love this book. And this is a book that I believe deserves to be read by many, many, many people. So if you'd be so kind, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. The essay tones range from wistful and nostalgic to luscious and decadent, or just fun. Again, always with a great sense of laugh-out-loud humor. Seriously, I haven't laughed as hard as when when my wife pointed out a certain line from the essay about her well-endowed bosom, which you can see, of course, in the very famous photo of her and Marcel Duchamp playing chess, as she is the famous nude woman in that photo taken by Joseph Weller. Anyways, in this essay, she recalls being set up with a A guy on a blind date who is not smart enough to say to her that he's a leg man. A crass, rude, horny gentleman. He's basically letting her know his interests far too soon. She describes the situation as thus. It's from the essay My Life in a 36 Double D Bra. I'll let her tell you. This tall, unfunny, unwonderful, stupid man picks me up. I could tell at once he was stupid because he was stupid. And on our way into this restaurant, he brushes against my breasts and says, "Why shit, Jeannie was right. You do have gigantic tits." Home, James. So the book itself is like a beautiful retrospective biographical film, starring Eve, of course, with cameos from Jim Morrison, Marcel Duchamp, Nicolas Cage, Francis Ford Coppola. She gets to go and hang out on the set of The Godfather 2 while they're shooting. The Byrds, the band from the 60s, whom Eve designed an album cover for, and she also designed one, I think, for Buffalo Springfield. She did that for work for a while, I think, maybe. I think a lot of men should read this book. Gotta Dance is the single greatest piece of writing on the necessity of dancing that I've come across. Something that tells the truth that I've internally suspected for quite some time, ever since I saw my friend John effortlessly salsa dancing with girls, just spinning them around, but that I was never able to articulate. It's hysterical because for me, the greatest book for men in dating and relationships that I've ever discovered is actually in the form of a romantic essay about dancing from, the LA woman. I just feel this is so true. Not taking dance lessons is a common mistake among men. They fail to realize that dancing is one of the few things a man can learn when he's young that will come in handy later. Men who know how to dance, even a few basic steps, will never end up sad and alone, with nobody to play with, because women will always be looking for that rare man who can dance. They'll take him to nightclubs and parties and on cruises, and they'll go all mushy after a simple waltz. Men should know this, but they don't. They don't appreciate the fact that what happens between a man and a woman on a dance floor is so romantic and pure, so steeped in tender tradition that few women can resist it. There are other wonderful things about dancing. It's a return to a more innocent time, back to the days of courtship when young couples danced the foxtrot, the waltz, and even the tango, and then fell in love with the way they felt in each other's arms, moving to the music. After they fell in love, they got married, and then they stayed married. Ain't that great? I met my wife dancing. Just saying. I can't dance yet, properly, but I aspire, because I know the importance. But don't go to Arthur Murray. Find a local studio or an independent teacher, or better yet, find a friend or relative. But just somebody who's reasonable. There's a serious failing in our culture when so many of us simply don't know how to fucking dance. You could have taken probably 90% of everything I learned in high school, thrown it all in the garbage and just taught me how to dance, lift weights, and invest in ETFs. Or maybe even above all that, just like how to eat, how proper nutrition works. I mean, it's like, you don't learn anything in school. It's just fucking insane. Like something that good really should have been prioritized culturally down the line, right? That just goes to show the issues with what gets prioritized. It's crazy. Like in theory, if we all knew how to salsa properly, there shouldn't be any problem with finding someone you want to spend time with. But we don't, of course, so there's plenty of problems, and everybody will continue to be miserable. In fact, for young people, it all looks like problems. It just looks like, you can't dance or resume. Doesn't work. Like my wife says, she's so enthusiastic about people and things and places. She's very much an advocate, I feel, for cool. Her work is a synthesis of deep and shallow, a coalescence of intellectual substance mixed with aesthetic glamour, brimming with sensuality. The essays serve as almost this screenplay to her life, moments out of each era she's lived through, sometimes weaving backwards in flashback, most often to people, it seems, like Jim Morrison. One thing I love about her is that she absolutely does not over-romanticize Jim Morrison at all. I was never fanatical about the Doors. I mean, they weren't Nirvana, but I think that the 1967 self-titled album is, spectacular. And they heavily influenced and paved the way for bands that were far better, in my opinion, like the Stooges. Which was absolutely, that first album is such an homage to the Doors, like even the album cover. And you listen to the Stooges and then you listen to Crystal Ship, it's like, it's obvious. But there's no question that Jim Morrison had something good going for him. And while she doesn't deny that at all, she does note that his trajectory is an interesting one. Believe it or not, he was a fat kid who did a whole bunch of LSD, lost all that weight, then got fat again and became a wreck, then died. It's sad. It's a sad story. About youth, about dreams, about people, young people, and how fast and strange the passing of time is. And there are some anecdotes about him which just sort of frankly reveal this kind of pathetic character. What's deeply beautiful, but also now, because of the pandemic, really, really tragic, is that the writing is sort of an obituary for beautiful American cities. LA, New York, Miami. You're transported in a mesmerizing fashion to places of sensual, mysterious grandeur. And yet, when I look at the news and out my window, I'm quite aware of the fact that these cities, all of them, are well and truly dead. Dead, dead, dead. Or let's call them hibernating indefinitely. But when you're reading about LA, New York, Miami, Milan, you're on vacation. And a much needed one these days, no? And sometimes, especially if it's Eve, let's be real, reading other people's experience of cities is far better than the ones you have, or will never have. And it's a moment in time. Whether the 70s or the 80s or the 90s, it's a time and place, and it's, just that she captures the essence. The essays, I believe, are all in chronological order, save for the last one, which is the longest, and an ode to the Milanese fashion designer Fiorucci, a kind of impressive short story length analysis and love letter, really. I take it this is to end the book on a note that's far more exuberant and joyful than the period of her life during the accident recovery, which doesn't seem to define Eve hardly at all, as terrible as it must have been. But the last essay, which is decadent in an almost Weezmom against nature kind of way, is just this overflowing exuberance and excitement, a kind of joy that isn't at all forced, but that does always seem omnipresent, that I always associate with her work. Eve's writing is actually similar to how she describes Fiorucci's forward-thinking fashion products. She writes, "They want it all to look casual." It does, but that doesn't come without a lot of work and care. And that's what I feel her writing is like. It really feels effortless, very, very accessible, super conversational, really, really inviting, friendly, and respectful to the reader. Like the reader's a friend, right? Like you're in the circle, the inner circle that gets to see all the cool shit. That's great. I mean, what more could you want from the person telling you about the the crazy stuff that happens in all these cities and these places and times? Just before that is the title essay, "I Used to Be Charming," which is something that she said to a male nurse while she was recovering from an accident where she was basically immolated in 1997 when a match fell from her hand while she was lighting a cigar in her car and caught her skirt on fire. It's a mistake absolutely anybody could make. And what resulted is not only horrifying, but just absolutely horrifically tragic. It almost killed her. However, Eve narrates it in a way that is able to find the humor, what little there is, of course, in the situations of recovery, right down to the line that became the book's title, which is brilliant. Of course, it's easily the darkest story in the book. To say it was a brutal experience is a gross understatement. And of course, it was what I was thinking about sailing through the book, kind of reaching up to that culminating point, which would be the accident, what was it going to be like, and so on. And it was simultaneously just as bad and horrific as I anticipated, and also not what I expected, because I think the psychological strain came across as just as intense. But then what I expected to be the most horrible was also sort of subdued. Like in the essay about the Manson murders, which is not long at all. It's not graphic, it's just kind of this evocation of dread in the air and the time that must have been rampant at the end of the 60s, when everything was just about to really go to shit. And the next decade, while very cool in its own way, to be fair, would go down historically as one of the darkest on record, at least in American history. You see, now I can reveal. See what I did there? I can turn coffee into wine. Her writing is like a terrific song, rock and roll song, of course. Almost kind of pleasantly languid, breezy, sunshine, as she might put it. And then just before it gets too cheerful, she'll drop in a deadpan line with tasteful sarcasm, which just makes you love her all the more for her ability to know when to shift gears. Her timing is excellent. She would have been a great musician, I feel. She knows how to entertain an audience. I'd love to have heard her read aloud. It feels like the kind of writing that could make a packed room move like an ocean, and she'd have them all wrapped around her fingers. It'd be great. So she used to be charming and still is. Most definitely. Never seems to have changed in that department. Really refreshing, good-natured, stylish, smart, witty, can't say enough kind things about it. Yeah, it's great. Loved it. Better than food, without question. I suggest you grab it as soon as possible. So what did I dislike about it? The Fiorucci essay was really, really long, for sure. Some hit me more than others. But even my kind of, my indifference to Fiorucci, or, sort of that fashion in the year 1980, Again, her enthusiasm is contagious, and the way she develops the story of Fiorucci and the man behind it was compelling. And I found myself kind of really into it by the middle of it. So it's just kind of a testament to her, to the quality of her writing. So yeah, I didn't really dislike anything about it. So you should read it. Yeah, if you're a fan of Joan Didion or Hunter S. Thompson or Hollywood Babylon by Kenneth Anger, I know the facts are distorted in that and probably not true at all, but still, you know, it's classic. Or you enjoy essay collections, for sure. If you're interested in the music, film, art, or fashion culture and lore of the 1970s Los Angeles world, you know, she hangs out with people from the art world, like Ed Ruscha, that kind of gallery scene and stuff, you know? Get it right away, definitely. Like Eve wrote in the final essay, any day can be a holiday if you're in the right mood. A summer day, for instance. And there's something so deceptively simple but profound to that sentence that I want to extract its essence and carry it with me for life, especially during these days when we could all use it. Better than food, without question. Just for the record, if there's any wine sponsors out there, if anybody has any recommendations, or like, you know, if you know somebody who makes wine and wants to promote it on this channel, hello. Coffee time. For those of you who are new, how's it going? Thanks for watching. I take all the names of the patrons on Patreon who have donated $5 or more per video. I place their names in this mason jar. I pull out a name for every review I do, and I send whoever's name I pull out a hard copy of the book I'm reviewing, plus a bag of coffee, normally roasted by yours truly, but lately roasted by one of the wonderful roasters here in Portland, Oregon because of the pandemic, and it's good to help support small business. So, if you would like to get in on that, you can head over to patreon.com/books are better than food and donate $5 or more per video. $1 or more will get you access to the Patreon-only reviews, the Discord channel, and the Better Than Friday newsletter I send out every Friday, which is just a list of 5 different things that I'm interested in, from could be books in the pipeline, music, films, articles, changes week to week. If you think we have similar taste, I think you'll get a lot of value out of that, and the Discord as well, because it's awesome, and there's tons of people just like throwing around memes and like, you know, giving suggestions on books and stuff, and you know, just and music, and people posting music and like film stuff. It's like the Discord is rad, and there's like so much in there. There's like super cool people too, and I need to stop by more often in there. If you would like to get in on that, you can head over to patreon.com/books are better than food and donate $1 or more per video. You can click on the link below, and I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you. Unfortunately, international shipping is not included. Sorry about that. Thank you very much, and best of luck to all the patrons. Okay, here we go. Capital 75757. Thank you very much, Capital 75757. You shall be receiving I Used to Be Charming by Eve Babitz, plus a bag of delicious coffee. Cheers. All right, that's all I've got for you today. Please hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and subscribe if you haven't already. And always remember, bring a book wherever you go, to whichever city you plan to go to next. You never know when you'll have 5-10 minutes just hanging out, waiting. Instead of looking at your phone, you could be reading Eve Babitz. That's a night and day difference if I ever heard one. All right. Great to see you as always. Take care of yourselves. Have a good night. Talk to you soon. Ciao.